Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so excited. I think that I have found the solution to my struggles. I figure if I'm on the struggle bus, they call it a bus for a reason. It seats a lot of asses. So chances are I'm not going through this alone. So what I have discovered, and it's kind of soon to tell for positive, but I'm gonna share it anyway because I'm finally seeing results. So I have for years struggled with migraines, for years. And I had a hysterectomy. Doctors were all excited thinking that my migraines would go away after the hysterectomy because of hormones and things. No such luck. As I've gotten older, my migraines, instead of being a day, they're 3 days. Finally, I feel like I'm so excited to share this with you guys because I feel like I'm getting relief not only on the headache front, but my scale this morning said, good job, Diana. And trust me, my scale for the last few years has been saying one fat bitch at a time. I cannot get it to budge, and it is finally budging. So I'm excited to share what I've started doing, and some of it may help you and some of it may not help you, but I'm constantly being teased because like 1 minute I'll read a book, like I read the book The Skinny Bitch, and it said, you know, cut out dairy. It actually had a really gross analogy with dairy that grossed me out so bad that for years, up until recently, I wasn't touching dairy. Any dairy in liquid form. I'm a little bit better with cheese, but not so much a liquid form, because I imagine going out into a field and pulling a little calf off of a hairy, dirty cow nipple and sucking on some milk. That's what I think of when I think of any kind of liquid dairy. So I don't do that. I watched a Dr. Oz episode where he talked about migraines, and he said one thing that is totally, it's a trigger for migraines, but it also has no use in the body at all, is gluten. So I thought, ding, 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 get off of gluten. I was gluten-free for years, and then only recently do I kind of play around thinking, well, I'm not losing any weight and I still have the headaches, so I might as well eat a big old plate of pasta. Or hey, I might as well mow an entire loaf of toast. So I started eating breads now and then because I still had the headaches and I wasn't losing any weight. So it's like I try things and I'm pretty good at it as far as loyal. The only thing I would say is for a while I would try like keto and I'd still be drinking tequila. But now I don't drink at all. So that could be part of the reason that my keto and some of my other diets never worked. But needless to say, I never saw the scale budge enough to keep me motivated until now. I gotta give a shout out to my aunt. My Aunt Cindy is the one that introduced me to, I swear, I think it's the answer to all of my issues, and I finally feel like I understand what I've been doing wrong. The book that she recommended to me is The Wheat Belly, or Wheat Belly, guess there's no the. It's an amazing book. As you can see, I got a ton out of it. I highlight the bejeebies out of it as if I was studying. But when I read this, I had some aha moments. Because like I said, I've been gluten-free for years and I wasn't getting relief and I wasn't losing any weight. So I didn't quite understand the reason for being gluten-free. I get it now. Gluten is only one of the issues with wheat. It's wheat that's the issue. It's more importantly, it's grains that are the issue. So one thing this said to me, and all of a sudden it was like, ding, 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 ding. The biggest thing I did wrong when I went gluten-free is I bought everything gluten-free. But gluten isn't the only issue. It is grains. So anything that you buy that says gluten-free, it's made with rice flour or tapioca flour or some other grain flour. So even though you're getting rid of the gluten isn't the only issue. And this book talks about grains in general, wheat is the most prevalent. Everybody knows wheat. A lot of times too, I'm one of those people that when I read a book, it's like, oh my gosh, my whole world has changed. I got to tell everybody about it. Hence this YouTube video. And so I've been telling everybody about the wheat and the issues that wheat causes. It blows my mind. Here's another tidbit. Now there's a couple things where this really affects me, and then there's a couple just interesting things I'm going to talk to you guys about. But the way that it affects me is, one, I think that was the reason I wasn't getting rid of the headaches and I wasn't getting rid of the weight, because I was eating gluten-free, but I was still eating all those grains. I'll tell you, the scale has started to move, which is so freaking motivating. You guys have no idea. No idea. I'm so excited. The scale has started to move effortlessly. Effortlessly. When I cut out grains, I don't eat sugars and stuff. A lot of people will think this is too restrictive, but for me, with migraines and weight gain, I'm comfortable with this, because since I bought this book, since I tabbed it, since I've been eating this way, I have not had one migraine, not one. I'll tell you, I did get a headache, think about last week. The headache did last 3 days, but it was not a migraine. It was a very low grade, just kind of irritating. I was still able to function. It's kind of like my body wanted to have a migraine, but it didn't have anything fueling the migraine. I don't drink at all. I'm not eating any wheats. I still get a little bit of sugar, because when I do keto baking, basically, because honestly, when you cut out wheat, when you cut out grains, that's very similar to eating keto. So a lot of recipes that are keto friendly are made with almond flour, and they're made with swerve instead of sugar. So there's less sugar in them and stuff like that. So I do get a little bit of sugar though, because if I make a dessert that calls for chocolate, I love, love, love really rich dark chocolate. Yes, not that not sweetened stuff. I do like good, expensive, dark chocolate. So, however, that is okay on keto, and that is, excuse me, that is okay. I don't know if the Wheat Belly mentions it, but it's okay with me to get a little bit of sugar from deep dark chocolate, because deep dark chocolate is good for you. Hey, it's also good for, here's another cool thing. Dark chocolate is good for your cortisol levels, and cortisol is your stress hormone. So last time I had a blood test, because like I mentioned, I had hysterectomy years ago. So I'm on what's called bioidentical hormones. So my blood is drawn on the regular, and my cortisol stress levels were up, which, shocker, with 2020 being the shitstorm that it is, and everybody's under stress, and honestly, the headaches, they stress me out. They depress the hell out of me. And then the weight gain bothers me. So my cortisol levels were up. And when I did research on cortisol levels, good, rich chocolate helps. So I'm not usually a chocolate fan at all. I don't like milk chocolate, but a good dark chocolate. Enough about my dark chocolate. You won't even believe where wheat comes from. As far as when you're trying to cut wheat and grains out of your diet, it's like even my seasoning salt. I love Johnny's seasoning salt. It has wheat in it. And here's some cool things. When I record this, when I edit this video, it might look a little choppy, because I'm actually going to find the cool parts and the sections, and so that I'll cut the hesitations out, but you might see me get a little bit goofy. So wheat, most people think of gluten. You cut out gluten, and then that's the only issue with wheat. That is not the case. You're gonna see me look down a lot, because I am using my book as a cheat. So amylopectin A, I believe it's called, increases your blood sugar like through the roof. Eating 2 slices of whole wheat bread is really little different from, or actually worse than, drinking a can of sugar sweetened soda or eating a candy bar. Yeah, 2 slices of whole wheat bread are worse than just eating a candy bar. Your glycemic index, a lot of people, this is something I didn't know. So glycemic index is the comparative blood sugar effects of carbohydrates. And so when a lot of people are choosing what they eat, they want something low on the glycemic index, because if it's low on the glycemic index, it's not affecting your blood sugar. This is really interesting, and I'm going to have to read it or I'll botch it. On the glycemic index, white bread is 69, while whole grain bread is 72. 72. So whole grain bread, like I said, people, we weren't meant to graze on grains. Incidentally, the glycemic index of a Mars bar, which is nougat, chocolate, sugar, and caramel, is only 68. 68. So people, you might as well have a Mars bar instead of one slice of white bread or 2/3 of a slice of whole grain bread. The glycemic index for Snickers bar is only 41. Here's another thing. Pasta has a curious ability to generate high blood sugars for 4 to 6 hours after consumption, sending blood sugars up 100 milligrams / I still don't know what DL stands for. Okay, there's a whole lot of technical stuff here that if you want to know about it, you can put specific questions down in the comments if you want, and I'll try to get to them, but I would say just read this book. Oh, and this is really, I could cut this video really short and just tell you, here's a good reason not to eat wheat or grains, because they are appetite stimulants with a morphine-like effect. So the more you eat, the more you want. So it stimulates your appetite. And on top of stimulating your appetite, it's gonna make you fat. And it says if you eliminate it, it reverses the phenomenon of being fat. Like I said, amylopectin A is the wheat carbohydrate that for all practical purposes is a little different and in some ways worse than just dipping your spoon into the sugar bowl. Yikes. And when it mentions that it's got a morphine effect, it isn't joking. Like there is a drug when you're coming off and you're having withdrawals from like heroin, you get those kind of withdrawals with wheat, and you know how they take care of that with the same exact drug they use to treat drug addicts. People who eliminate wheat from their diet typically report improved mood, fewer mood swings, improved ability to concentrate, a deeper sleep within just days to weeks of their last bite of a bagel or baked lasagna. Booyah. This is so interesting to me. Not that I'm schizophrenic, not that there's a couple other things in here that I don't have, but the fact that something has the power to mess with the human mind this much makes it really easy for me to cut out of my diet. So I don't think everybody needs to cut it out of their diet. And I know, I mean, everybody's going to do their own thing, but it's making a difference with me. So I'm just going to share it. In the mid-60s, a doctor and his colleagues decided to remove all wheat products from the meals provided to the schizophrenic patients without their knowledge. Because of course, back then, not everybody got butthurt over stuff like that. Lo and behold, 4 weeks without wheat, and there were distinct and measurable improvements in the hallmarks of the disease. If it helps a schizophrenic mind, imagine what it does to a housewife. Autism, this is interesting. Another condition which wheat affects the vulnerable mind is autism. Autistic children suffer from impaired ability to interact socially and communicate. Initial small samples have determined improvement in autistic behavior and gluten removal. While it remains a topic of debate, a substantial portion of the children and adults with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, may also respond to the elimination of wheat. It's unlikely that wheat exposure was the initial cause of autism or ADHD, but as with schizophrenia, wheat appears to be associated with the worsening of the symptoms characteristic of these conditions. Wow. Here's another thing that I thought was really interesting. They talk about further, deeper studies into how wheat affects the brain. They shut those studies down because it does not support the pharmaceuticals. They would rather treat us with a drug than just tell us to cut out wheat and grains. Okay, this is where the book really got my attention. And I actually had to go back and read some stuff once I said this. So celiac disease is not just a matter of the intestinal issues. There's other things. So extreme fatigue and migraine headaches. Another thing that this says is celiac disease, a lot of times celiac sufferers are underweight, malnutritioned, because the chemical in wheat prevents the nutrients from being absorbed in the body. So though some people are eating, and they're just really, really skinny, they could be sensitive to wheat, and therefore, no matter what they're eating, the nutrients aren't getting absorbed. So I just think that stuff's so interesting. And don't quote me on all this because I'm just sitting here reading my highlights. Gluten-free foods are the likely explanation for overweight celiac sufferers who eliminate wheat and fail to lose weight. Hello? In my view, his view, there is no role for gluten-free foods since the metabolic effects of these foods is little different from eating a bowl of jelly beans, even if it's cleverly disguised as 7-grain bread. So that's, for me, that's kind of my roundup is, like I said, being gluten-free for years and still not getting rid of the headaches, not getting rid of any of the extra weight. And I cut out grains and I'm feeling great, haven't had a headache, and the scale is starting to love me. I way prefer when she says, "Good job, Diana," as opposed to "one fat bitch at a time." However, I will warn you, well, one thing, don't take my word for all this, get the book. There will be a link to the book down below. Any ideas you guys have too on how you eat, what your journey is, or maybe if you could shed light on this. But one thing I will warn you guys, approximately 40% of people who remove wheat products abruptly from their diets will experience a withdrawal effect. The people who suffer through withdrawals most usually are the same people that experience incredible cravings for wheat products. They're the people that habitually eat crackers, pretzels, bread all the time. Some of the effects when you're first getting off of it might be shakiness, nervousness, headache, fatigue, intense cravings. Basically, it's kind of like you've heard people talk about the keto flu. When you reduce your carbohydrates, you feel like shit for a little while. If you're gonna make any kind of changes, you're gonna have to deal with feeling like crap for a little while. You're gonna have to deal with cravings and all that stuff. And if you do want to bake and things like that, you want desserts, you want to cook for the family, stick with keto recipes, because keto recipes are using almond flour and things like that. They're not using grains either, because grains are nothing but carbohydrates and useless carbohydrates. So I'm just starting on this journey and I'm noticing some huge benefits, and that's why I'm chatting with y'all about it. So as the journey goes, I might give you guys updates along the way and the different things. Boy, if I can help people avoid migraines and weight gain, by all means, I'm gonna share it. So with that, stay safe, stay healthy, stay surrounded by loved ones, and most of all, stay grateful for all of your blessings. Until next time, thank you. Delete that part. Typically, I'm not gonna talk about that part either. Just delete that part.